Here on the ground, change happens fast. Problems feel frequent and urgent. It's loud and anxiety runs high. From a satellite view, the Earth looks the same as it did thousands of years ago. We've been here before. Let's learn from our past and shoot for a better future.
So here we are now it's September 20th. It's Tuesday, September 20th. And here in Minnesota, a lot of people are saying it's the last really hot, humid day of summer. I'm hoping we'll have more coming up, but I enjoyed it. I love hot, humid summer in Minnesota. But tomorrow's going to be more than 20 degrees cooler than it was today. And that's, you get used to that when you live in Minnesota. But, again, I wasn't expecting to make an update on this particular day, but wow, there's really no day that can go by where you can't, both nationally and in Minnesota. I'll talk about Minnesota first. So the Republicans were all happy because finally the poll that it was so obvious that they knew was coming out, they knew it was being worked on because it's completely biased and it's completely, working in cahoots with them. It's working with an entity called Alpha News. And I'm going to read from abetterminnesota.org. They released this in February of 2022. You may have heard their name on a conservative billboard or maybe on a friend's Facebook feed, but who are they really? While they might have news in their name, Alpha News is anything but. It's a shady right-wing propaganda machine. The organization pushes conservatives' harmful agenda with clickbait headlines, alarmist lies, and zero journalistic integrity. Here's what you need to know. The murky origins. Alpha News launched in 2015, headed by a group of Tea Party Republicans, many of whom wouldn't even reveal their identities. Some of Alpha News articles don't even have bylines. Their sketchy background is untrustworthy, but even that is nothing compared to the actual content hosted on their site. Posts on Alpha News website include baseless conspiracy theories, Islamophobic rhetoric, and bogus data. An independent analysis calls Alpha News a quote-unquote questionable source, citing low credibility and far-right bias. Basically, Alpha News is fake news. It's actual fake news. Yeah, so, and they're funded by a shady group as well, American Freedom, some bladdy. Yeah. All these bogusly titled entities. So they came out with a poll, and now, like the Jensen campaign, the GOP gubernatorial candidate is saying, "Wow, we somehow made up 15 points in the last week," because there was another poll that came out by another right-wing entity, KSTP News, far right, very well known in Minnesota as being very far-right conservative, very biased, quote-unquote, news station. Used to be more reliable in the 1970s, but just leaning more and more right-wing. And, now we live in a day where I don't know what media you can trust. Everything is bought and paid for. It's not independent news. Governor Walz was 18 points ahead, and now I think he's 7 points or 5 points ahead or something in this new poll that the Republicans just couldn't wait to come out. So now they're saying, yeah, we're going to win. We made up for lost ground. It's just absolutely insane. Another Minnesota poll, but again, it's among 800 voters in Minnesota. Walz's approval rating at 52%. He lead Jensen's, so I'm kind of skimming around here. The poll conducted among 800 registered voters between September 12th and 14th with a 3.5 margin of error found that 48% of Minnesotans plan to vote for Walz on Election Day, while 51% say they'll vote for Jensen. Yet at the same time, their Walz approval rating is 52%. So how does this even make sense? 800 people in Minnesota. I think there's something like 5.2 million people in Minnesota. They call 800 people and they come. I again, and here is, I think that I'm holding up the Star Tribune. Slim majority backs legal abortion. That's another headline they came up with in this 800-person poll. Polling is almost impossible now, but all of the pollsters are still trying to survive. So, these entities, Star Tribune, KARE 11, KSTP, all these old-time, they've been doing polls for decades. They can't really do them anymore because you have, I would love to see a list of all the 800 people, and I bet you $1,000 there's not a single one of them who's between the age of 18 to 25. I would bet $800 that there's not a single one of them between the age of 18 and 35. People don't answer their phones anymore. How do you contact these people? You do it in an email? Then, again, people between the age of 18 and 25, 35, 45, they don't trust anything in an email. They're not going to click on anything in an email. I got a phone call from somebody trying to take a survey, and I could tell that the moment they realized that I was a liberal, because all their questions were, and I don't have documentation of this. I have no idea who it was. They did not identify themselves. They said they were taking a poll, and I'm like, okay, sure, I'm game for that. And they were asking very loaded questions that were obviously right-wing bent. And the moment they realized that I was not on their side, they hung up on me. That was very possibly one of these polls. It was very possibly the Alpha News poll. Alpha News, being a Minnesota entity that started in 2015, totally there for the benefit of the far-right MAGA freakheads. And basically, polling right now, I include the one that had Walz up by 18 points. I don't trust that poll either. I just think that polling, nobody should pay attention to any polling right now. Polling has been completely upside down for, at like 10 years. And even more so within the, starting in 2016, everything was upside down. All the polling was wrong. Of course, 2016, things were messed with by Russia and all of this stuff that gets more complicated. But polling itself, exit polling, has been completely off, since before 2010. And you just can't pay attention to polls. We know that voter registration for people between the age of 18 and 25 is just over the top. It's absolutely unprecedented in the history of us keeping track of this. Young women and older women too. They're overwhelmingly registering to vote, and it's because of the Dobbs decision. It's because they understand the horror that's going on, even right now, in places like Wisconsin and other states. Wisconsin, I just always mention because I live like 50 feet from Wisconsin. Well, I live like, 50 miles maybe. Not even, though. 45 miles from Wisconsin. So it kind of, has more of an impact on me because it's so close, and it's already completely, absolutely illegal for a woman, including a child who's been raped by her father or her uncle, to get an abortion in Wisconsin. The horror of that is fueling what's going to happen on November 8th. I'm very happy for Scott Jensen and all the other statewide candidates in Minnesota today, because they finally got their heavily biased poll they've been waiting for ever since the poll that put them down by 18 points came out a week and a half ago. They've been waiting and waiting for this poll, and now they get to live in their little fantasy, their euphoric fantasy until November 8th. On November 9th, they're going to wake up and realize that, actually Tim Walz didn't beat them by 18 points. He beat them by 22 points. I started saying this 2 weeks ago. I finally drew a number. I will be very surprised if Scott Jensen gets more than 38% of the vote in Minnesota for governor. I really think he's going to get lower than that, but I'll be very surprised if he gets above 38 points. Now, of course, I'll be happy if he gets 49% because we still win. I'll still be very happy, but I'll be surprised. So, and I'll be disappointed in my fellow Minnesotans. But I know he's not going to get anywhere near 49%. Other things going on. The Judge Deary just today had a meeting with the Trump judges and the DOJ judges and said, okay, well, so are you telling me that Trump declassified these? And the Trump judges said, oh, we don't want to say that right now. We want to use that answer in our defense. Of course, they're admitting we know we're going to be indicted, and we're saving that piece of information to pull out during that defense. Now, of course, they haven't said it yet. His legal team hasn't said it yet because they know it's a lie, and they know they're going to get in ass loads of trouble if they say it in court. So they're not saying it in court. Judge Deary was chosen by the Trump team, by Donald Trump. He was originally appointed by Ronald Reagan. And they have this delusion of some stuff that happened back in 2016. They think Deary has lost all confidence in the FBI because of some FISA stuff going on back in the investigation on Carter Page back in 2016. In reality, Judge Deary is an upstanding judge. He's just about ready to retire. I think he was pretty much thinking, I'm going to retire tomorrow. And then he got called on to this assignment as being the quote-unquote special master, which everyone says is a BS move to make by another Trump-appointed judge, Judge Cannon, who said, there should be a special master. So now Judge Deary was chosen by the Trump team and then agreed to by DOJ. And then today was his first actual move. And he said, okay, well, I have no jurisdiction to make a ruling on whether or not these documents are classified. So you need to tell me, did former President Trump, you keep calling him President Trump, by the way, his lawyers, what's his name? Trusty. I don't know what his first name is. Jim, whatever. I don't care what your first name is. Trusty. It's just a cartoon at this point. Yeah, I'm trusty. He's trusty. I trust him. He's trusty. He's the only one who spoke today at the hearing, and he said, we're not going to answer that. We're not ready to answer that. And then, so basically, Judge Deary said, okay, well, he in so many words said, you can't have your cake and eat it too. So I'm going to rule that these are still classified because they're labeled as classified. You refused to tell me whether or not Trump declassified them while he was still president, because he had no jurisdiction to declassify them after he became president. So he would have had to declassify them before January 20th, 2021. And there's no proof that he did. They've shown no proof that he did. So basically, Judge Deary is saying, these are still classified. I'm not going to give them back to you. So even though they chose the judge, it's like, oh, God dang it. No, is nobody on our side? No, nobody's on your side. Your circle has gotten so minuscule. And Trump is going to be bad-mouthing Deary. He probably already has. He will by tomorrow morning. He's a fraud. He's a fraud. It was he won't say it's a mistake that I appointed him. He'll just say, Judge Deary's a fraud. He wasn't appointed. He was appointed by Ronald Reagan, who's a rhino. Even though Ronald Reagan's dead. I don't know what he's going to do, but they can't get anybody to work with them anymore. At his rally in Ohio on Saturday night, the venue was maybe 25% full. And of course, he puts out a Truth Central. I'm putting out a truth on Truth Central, whatever it's called. His fake Twitter thing that's probably going to get sued and have to shut down anyway because they're not paying their bills. He said something to the effect of, the reports are all fake news. It was completely full. Everyone there saw it. All the other reporters saw it. And there were many people turned away who couldn't even get in. We were all there. We saw it. But there's video of it's a embarrassingly empty venue. And okay, I'm not even going to go on about that anymore. I don't even want to regurgitate his BS, but I guess some of the points that brought me to the microphone today, because I was not expecting to do an update today, just all of these things going on right now. I mean, he doesn't even have Jared and Ivanka standing up for him anymore. He's got nobody left in his circle. Okay, I'm going back to just so many things going on day by day. So that's why I'm doing this update today, even though I meant to be sitting outside in my backyard enjoying possibly the last super hot and humid summer day in Minnesota. But I just felt really compelled because and I was even kind of avoiding the news today. Just trying to kind of relax. I'm taking a trip to New Orleans this weekend, and I'm trying to get in the zone of that. I'm trying to be excited to take a break from everything, but I just could not do an update. That's the update. I think I've done everything I've thought, but man, how many things did I cover? Just a few, and I know there are more. But for now, you're listening to A Satellite View. I'm your host, Todd Mikkelson. Talk to you soon.
You've been listening to A Satellite View with Todd Mikkelson. Go to toddmikkelson.com for links and more information.